Ascend TMS, the world's #1 rated TMS software.
This is Tim Hyam with Ascend TMS. Welcome, everybody. Most of you know who we are. I can see more people coming in here. So we got a couple hundred people, maybe more than that today. So if for some reason at the end you are one of the people or you know somebody that might benefit from this today, there'll be an email address at the end. You can email me directly. I'll make sure you get a copy of the presentation because it's being recorded. So again, my name is Tim Hyam. I am with Ascend TMS, and most of you heard about us. We get a lot of press coverage. Very fortunate to have some very good relationships with most of the press. And over the years, we've garnered quite a reputation, I think, a very positive reputation because of the market segment that we're in and the things that we've done to try to help digitize the overall logistics world. Most people that are new to the industry think we're a startup. We're not a startup. We've been around since the dawn of time in technology terminology. Basically 2002 is when we started. And our original system, because the company's called InMotion Global, was called InMotion Global TMS, started in Tampa, Florida. And it was very similar to a lot of the systems you see today, whereas, you know, for every customer we had, there was a separate install, whether that was remote or on-premise. And every single time we got a new customer, we would have to spend a lot of time arranging demos and then building a sandbox. And then getting, if they decided to purchase our product, we would have to put a team together to configure the software and make sure that it was connected to the right systems that they needed. And I said to myself around 2010 or 12 that there's got to be a better way to do this. The easiest example would be Salesforce.com dominates the area today of CRMs. And there are other competitors, but you know, if you're an old guy like me, I'm 53 years old. If you're old, you remember the days of CompUSA, Act, and Goldmine. You'd go and get yourself a CD-ROM and you would, you know, install your software for CRM use. Well, that got replaced. And those companies don't exist in that form anymore because Salesforce put everything online. And I wanted to do the same thing. So in 2015, we launched a soft version of our system. Within 6 hours, we got our first customer. And today we've got over 26,000 customers. So let me just give you a very quick overview of who we are. We're the only pure cloud-based TMS multi-tenant software. Now, that means that there's one massive system, and that system supports over 26,000 customers as of this morning. We have paying customers in over 20 countries. And so the benefit of that, of course, is that, you know, we get to manage everything in one big unified system, and we're able to put out new features. And when we put out those new features, everybody gets the new features. They just decide whether to turn them on or off or not. We're also the world's only totally free TMS system option. So there's no contracts, no credit card. If you're interested in TMS and you use it for 3 or 4 months and you're in the produce business or something that's, you know, sees a downturn, you don't have to keep paying for the product. You basically just start hitting the pause button and you don't have to get paid and there's no charges. You basically just use our basic system. We retain all the data, and we're the only company I'm aware of that provides a totally free TMS option. It's a true enterprise level TMS. It's natively mobile, any PC, any device, and we don't have apps. Everything that we do uses what's on the telephone of your typical user, which is texting, a web browser, camera. Our largest customer is a $9 billion distributor with 370 some warehouses in North America. Our smallest customer is probably somebody that started their business today and will get their account literally while we are doing this presentation today. We average between 20 and 30 new accounts every single day. We're the only, and we were the first, real-time funding option inside of TMS. So what does that mean? Well, you know, there's a lot of factoring companies out there. We connect to several of them, but we were the first TMS to allow somebody to finish a load in the TMS, press one button, all the information goes to their factoring company, and in some cases, that money gets deposited in their account within 60 minutes, which is unheard of. There's no extra paperwork, because don't forget, we know everything about that load because it's in the TMS. We were the only and first real-time carrier payments solution inside of TMS with TriumphPay. So we have hundreds and hundreds of brokers and shippers that use our system, and they've got to pay their carriers. Those brokers and shippers needing to pay might be one payment today, it might be 1,000. And so rather than have to cut checks and write checks manually, They hit one button inside Ascend, it goes to the payment authority, TriumphPay in this particular case, and all the payments are dispersed. There is a quick pay program as part of that, and it works beautifully. So it allows people to become more efficient and essentially have less AP people on their team. We're partnered with and integrated to almost every company that you can imagine. Our customers have told us for years they don't want to go into 15 different websites every single day to do things separately. They told us that they spend 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week in their TMS, and they want everything to run in their TMS seamlessly with all of the things that they want to connect to. So we made that happen, and today I'm proud to say we're connected to dozens of different companies, third-party services. And finally, we're very profitable. We are totally debt-free and growing fast. We've actually been growing very fast recently as this whole work from home movement has taken place because of COVID-19. And I'm sorry, I'm sure you've heard that term so often. I was trying not to mention it in today's webinar, but we found that everybody that needs to work from home had to do it very quickly. There wasn't 6 months of time to prep for it. And we're very profitable. Most of you know, we're partially owned by a huge publicly traded national bank holding company. We are the highest rated TMS in all the main review sites, Software Advice, Crowd Reviews, Capterra. We have 5-star ratings, a couple hundred plus reviews from real customers. And we are often rated higher from terms of value over the TMWs, the McLeods, the Mercury Gates. There's nothing wrong with those systems. If you've been using those systems for 20 or 30 years, you're probably not going to upgrade to a new system because you're so entrenched in the old system. But it's nice to have the overall community out there say these nice things about it. So today, I've only got about 20 minutes to basically do this what not to buy in your next TMS. And so I thought it would be important first to look at the logistics market makeup. So last year, we with our bank owners commissioned a study, and we looked at all kinds of data points inside shipping. And the one slide I'm going to share with you guys today is the following. This is information that we've never shared with anybody before. Everybody's got their own idea on how many carriers are out there, how many brokers, how many shippers. If you look at the very top block here, you'll see it's not an uncommon thing for uncommon knowledge for people to know that shipping is about a $750 to $800 billion company industry. There's about 4 million trucks, but if you break that off into two components, look at the block below, the for-hire business. So we're going to segment out the private fleets for this conversation. The for-hire business is about $400 billion, representing about 2.6 million trucks. Then once again, if you break that block into two, you've got your contract/common carrier, which is the asset guys. That's about $225 billion of revenue. And then you've got your 3PL broker side of the equation, which is about $175 billion in total annual freight spend. So if we break that down again further, and we've got all kinds of statistics looking at what kind of commodities to hold and what territories, etc. However, for today's purposes, if you look at the block on the left, bottom left-hand side, we're looking at the carrier, the asset carrier side. And so where we play is the guys with 100 plus trucks, they're using the McLeods, the TMWs, they've got homegrown systems. They are not a target for us. And they are probably not going to change a system that is so heavily customized. So we play in the 100 truck segment. We do very well in that segment. There's about 232,000 carriers that are active in the United States on any given day. Some people say 300 or 400, but when you look at the number of carriers active, not the ones that are parked or that are temporarily out of service, the ones that are active, it's about 232,000. So real simple math will tell you that well over 90% of the marketplace consists of businesses that are under 100 trucks. The bottom right-hand side, if you look, you'll see if we look at the brokerage world, there's about 19,500 brokers. 5,300, generally speaking, are not in business at any given time. They're inactive. Over 100 million is a tiny 300 companies. They represent a lot of business, but they generally, once again, they're setting their ways. They might be looking for services that can complement their business, but they already have a TMS or a homegrown system that is so entrenched with their business, they're not going to go with anything else. So we play in that 100 million and down segment, basically the 1 million to 100 million segment. And we've been very successful in that area. So today is kind of like a 12-step program. The reason that we wanted to do this is over the last 2 weeks, what has been very interesting is we've got lots and lots of brand new customers. We had over 430 customers in the month of March that came to us that were using legacy old systems that they just did not lend themselves basically to working from home, or they were finding that it was very difficult for them to apply some of the new technologies that they were trying to adopt to try to become more efficient. So we said, you know, when we were asked to do this presentation by Trey over at HubTech, we said, well, what is the information that we can impart on the audience that will allow us to be able to help them after this seminar, rather than just walk away with, you know, 30 minutes of nothingness? What could we give them that allow them to have some actionable information? So we don't really care whether you use Ascend TMS or you use any other TMS vendor. We're literally trying to say, here are 12 things that if you are going to use a new system, these are the things that you should avoid. Everybody will sell you on the things they do well. They won't tell you about the things that they don't do well. And finally, 86% of our new customers are coming from existing other TMS software that they've regretted buying for one reason or another. So 14% of our new customers come because they're either new entrants, new brokers, new shipping entities. They've got a new little business. They are a new carrier. And so only 14%. There's been a lot of companies that we've started up in the last couple of weeks where there's been mass layoffs with one of the big brokerages or one of the carriers. And so what they do, they run with 2 or 3 of their existing friends that work at that company. They take the 1 or 2 customers they have a good relationship with, and they scramble to get a TMS together to provide continuity to that customer. So, but that's only 14%. 86% of all the people that we work with have an existing TMS system that they are trying to replace, and they don't know what they don't know. So this list here will hopefully help define for them the things that they should avoid. So when not to pick a TMS vendor, the first thing is the TMS vendor has to be pure cloud TMS. They have to be built natively for the web. Ask if it was native web. If it was an old system that they've just put a new skin on the front and it's an old system running in the background, then that's just not going to do the trick today, because all you're getting is essentially a lipstick on a pig situation with a long wire going to either their cloud server, whether that's a virtual server or their own server that's running the software, and it wasn't built natively for the web. It causes all kinds of problems. And so ask if it was built natively for the web and if it's pure cloud TMS. Do not choose a TMS vendor if it needs to be installed, configured, or set up, or requires an IT staff to get going. The IT staff route, which was so 10 years ago, is where you do an RFP, a few people would give you a quote for their TMS. It would take you 3 or 4 days at least to get a demo. That if you decided to go with that system, your IT guy would have to download the software, install the software, put any software patches in place, configure the software, set it up, and then run the software. But the days of having a full-time, $50,000 to $100,000 guy in your office running the software for you is old. And anybody that tells you that if you go to a website and it says click here for demo and you can't get an account right away, that tells you they're using old technology. If you can get an account with Ascend TMS, you can get an account within about 12 to 13 seconds, depending on how fast you type. We timed it. That means that you're getting a modern system. But if somebody says, oh, we can give you a demo in a week, we've often had people tell us, our actual customers, that they were waiting for demos from other companies. They went live with us the same day. And when the demo time came, they canceled the demo because they were already using our system quite happily. Number 3, don't choose a TMS system if you do not get 100% free trial for at least 30 days. Anybody that's got a TMS should have enough confidence in their TMS. They'll give you a trial for 30 days and say, try it out, or 2 weeks, or a week, or 2 months. It doesn't really matter, but they should have a free trial because they're so confident that you'll be happy. If they don't have a free trial and they want you to pay them to use the system, then you probably want to look somewhere else. Number 4, don't get charged anything up front. There is a small caveat to that. If you're doing business with vendors out there, your vendors that need EDI, and while people say, oh, API is the big thing, EDI is so old, EDI is used by all of the main shippers, the Walmarts, the Home Depots, the Coca-Colas, the big brokers, the Robinsons, the TQLs, the Convoys. All of these entities still use EDI when working with their main vendors, because EDI is 40 years old, it's tried and true. And so if you are going with a new system and they charge you, maybe $1,000 to $1,500 to set up each EDI trading partner, that's okay. But if they try to charge you for the system up front, then walk away, find something else. Number 5, don't choose a TMS vendor if you have to pay for each separate module. You shouldn't have to have a degree in mathematics to figure out the pricing. Some of the websites that I've been to for our competitors, you go and you are charged a nickel and dime for everything. And it becomes very complicated to know what your bill will be. And if you start using the system, when you get the bill, you've got no idea why you're being charged a certain amount of money. It's almost like a license for them to charge you whatever they want to each month. The pricing for a software system should be simple. It should be determined upfront before the month starts what you're going to pay. There's nothing wrong also with being charged maybe on a per load fee or something per something fee, but make sure that you understand how you're going to get charged. For example, with us, there's a $0 tier, that's $0 all the time, or there's a $69 tier per user, but there's nothing else that you can add on. There's no extra pricing with Ascend. Number 6, don't choose a TMS vendor if you're charged for training, support, or maintenance. By definition, if somebody's charging you for training, that means that the system is hard to use. If they don't charge you for training, they're confident that the system is so easy that you can use a system, very quickly without much training needed, and you don't have to worry about your team not being able to learn things very quickly. The same with support and maintenance. If a company is charging you for support and maintenance fees of any kind, that means that they're not confident in their own system working properly. Number 7, don't choose a TMS unless there's a free tier option. Very many companies we do business with are in, say, the produce business, or they might move Christmas trees, or horticulture out of Florida for the spring, the spring in Home Depot and Lowe's. And so what happens is, if you're shipping, for example, produce, you might be busy for 2 or 3 months, and then your business falls off, and you might even not do any business at all for 2 or 3 more months until the next produce season starts again. So you need the ability to hit the pause button on your TMS software so you don't keep getting charged when you're not using it. A good example right now is that we know for a fact that some of our customers, because of the inherent nature of what's going on in the economy right now, if you were shipping auto parts or if you were shipping, say, furniture, your business might have fallen off a cliff. And so rather than us keep charging those customers, they simply just revert to the free option. And then when business picks up again, they can start right where they left off with all the same data in the system. Number 8, don't use a TMS vendor unless they've got verified reviews and referrals. Go to Capterra and Software Advice. Look at sort by not who's advertising, but sort by the number of reviews that they've got or the highest rating. And then go through and make sure that if somebody's got 20 reviews and the 20 reviews were from 3 years ago, and it all seems to be, all those reviews were done within, say, a week's time, that shows you that they were probably the vendor themselves entering the reviews. They don't have many customers. What you want is to see a nice dispersion of reviews over time. And if there are bad reviews, read them, pay attention to those reviews, and make sure you understand that if there are any issues with the system in the past, make sure they've been resolved since then. If somebody doesn't have reviews, and there are some startup companies out there that might not have a lot of reviews, so at the very least you should ask for referrals. You need to get 3 to 5 referrals. Make sure that the software that you're buying is being used by other people and is proven. Number 9, don't choose a TMS vendor unless you check their financials and their profitability. That is so important today because there's a lot of companies out there that are, let me just say, not financially stable. just a couple of months ago, we got an influx of new customers and we wondered why. And we realized inside our own internal CRM that they were all coming from the same TMS vendor. Well, it turns out that that TMS vendor had been breached by a virus, and their entire systems had gone down. And the customers were looking very quickly to try and find a new system. They didn't have the ability to wait a week or a month to try and find new systems. So we got all these customers came to us, and within literally a few minutes, they got their accounts. They were working with their existing customers without any interruption in service whatsoever. And that company has since gone out of business. So make sure that you check financials, ask for a balance sheet. If they won't give you that, at the very least, get yourself a certified letter from their accountant to say that they're in financial good standing. Number 10, don't choose a TMS vendor if they're owned by a competitor. So we've seen this many times where there's a TMS with a nice, spiffy, super name, but it turns out that there's a conflict of interest because the TMS may be owned by a broker. And so if you're a broker and you're using a TMS, you don't want your competitor to have access to your data. You don't want them to see your customers and your rates. If you're a carrier and you're using a TMS that's supplied by another company that's got interest in trucking companies or in brokerage, you don't want to use that TMS. If you're a shipper, you might want to say, is there a conflict of interest by me using this software? So if you're given free software by a carrier or a broker, just ask yourself if you're getting enough value from the TMS to make up for the lack of independence that you'll find in your TMS. We believe that your TMS should be completely independent of any service provider that you use, and it should be financially stable so it's not going to go anywhere. So just be very aware of any conflicts of interest. Always ask when you're doing a demo, who owns you? Are you owned by any entity that is in the brokerage or the carrier or the shipping business? And make a determination for yourself if the risk is worth it. See, in some cases, if you're very small, that might not be the case, but just by definition, in the history of TMSs, there are no TMSs that have done really well that have been owned by carriers or brokerages. There are certain companies like Robinson and Transplace that have got a true managed service contract for multi-billion-dollar entities, but the whole pricing model of that is very different. So just be aware of that when you're working with people. Number 11, almost done here. Don't choose a TMS unless it supports both assets and brokerage. What we find is over half of our companies that are asset carriers, they have brokerage operations that they run on the side. We also find that a very large percentage of our brokers also have some assets. So what they want to do, they don't want to have a separate system, one that runs their assets and one that runs their brokerage. They want one unified system that runs both. We find that a lot of our shipping customers have at least one truck. Some have got hundreds and some have just got a few. And they use these in order to do maybe quick runs from warehouse to warehouse, or they've got a dedicated fleet that they use to be able to provide their largest customers with higher end, more on-demand, timely service. So make sure that any system that you contemplate supports in one unified system your assets, brokerage, and any shipping systems such as connecting to ERPs and order management, etc., routing and optimization should all be in one unified system with the ability for you to turn on or off certain features. So, for example, if you're a pure broker and you don't have any assets, you should be able to turn off the carrier features and your screen gets decluttered because you don't need all of the extra stuff on your screen. If you're a pure asset carrier and you don't do any brokerage, you should be able to turn off all of the brokerage and the shipping features so it declutters your screen. And then finally, don't choose a TMS unless you get new features at least every quarter, and they should be at no charge. We've heard horror stories where your traditional TMS platform that has got many installs of their software, they do an annual upgrade, and I'm using my very generous air quotes here. They do an upgrade, and what happens, the upgrade breaks twice as many things in the system that you were working perfectly before. So really it was a downgrade because they have 100 systems, for example, that are all slightly different. And then when they upgrade everybody, and usually they charge you for that, when they do the big upgrade, everything in your system breaks. So make sure that you get new features at least every quarter. I mean, it's no good anymore to get upgrades once a year. That was so 10 years ago. Things are happening so fast now. You should be, every 90 days, there should be an upgrade, and it should be at no charge. So I'm running out of time. We do live tours every day at 2 p.m. If you want any of this presentation emailed to you, just email info@inmotionglobal.com, and I will get the email. I'm on that group, and I'll be more than happy to either have a separate discussion with you or send you any of the information that you saw today. In deference and retrospect and just respect for the people that are coming after me, I've used my full 27 minutes up here. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful, safe day, and wash your hands often. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Ascend TMS, the logistics software for everyone. To stay up to date with the latest help videos and tutorials for Ascend TMS, click that subscribe button. That way you can always be the first to know.